ChatGerry, comparison of a 17-year longitudinal proof that diet and exercise control weight and glucose with the U.S. 2025 to 2030 Dietary Guidelines, number 1522, VPT 078, the 3rd of February 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, category Food and Diet. Preface. The purpose of this article is not to repeat government recommendations, it is to test them against a real human case over a long period of time. The newly released U.S. Dietary Guidelines for 2025 to 2030 represent a noticeable shift in emphasis, compared with versions published over the past several decades. Many people welcome this change, but guidelines alone cannot prove whether they truly work. Only long-term human data can do that. 16 years before these guidelines were released, I made a complete lifestyle decision based on necessity, observation, and survival. Since 2010, I have collected continuous data from my own body, including diet, physical activity, body weight, glucose, and other health indicators. This dataset now spans 17 years. It allows cause and effect to be observed directly over time, not guessed from short-term averages or group statistics. My body is not biologically special. Its responses follow the same physiology and pathology as other human bodies. What makes this case unusual is not the person, but the length, continuity, and discipline of the data collection. The dataset and what it shows. The data table covers the period from 2010 through 2026. Each year includes age difference, BMI, fasting plasma glucose, food portion percentage, and daily walking steps. These variables together describe how lifestyle choices gradually reshape metabolism. In 2010, my BMI was 32, which is classified as obesity. My fasting glucose in early morning was 220 mg DL, indicating severe type 2 diabetes. Daily walking steps averaged only about 3,000 per day. And food intake was excessive at 140%. My age difference value was positive, meaning my biological condition was worse than my chronological health age. From 2010 onward, several clear longitudinal patterns emerge. First, BMI, fasting glucose, and food portion all decline steadily over time. The direction of change is consistent across many years, not just isolated improvements. By 2016, BMI dropped to around 26, glucose approached 120 mg DL, and food intake was substantially reduced to 88%. By 2023 to 2025, BMI reached the normal range around 24, and fasting glucose stabilized near 90 mg DL. Second, physical activity increased dramatically during the early years. Daily walking steps rose from about 3,000 in 2010 to nearly 18,000 by 2018. This increase did not occur suddenly. It required 8 years of habit building. After 2018, daily walking steps gradually declined with aging and then dropped further after the mid-2025 stroke. Yet even after the June 2025 event they remained well above the starting level. Third, the age difference variable changed sign. In the early years, my biological condition was worse than my chronological age. Around 2014 to 2015, this trend reversed. From that point forward, my biological indicators suggested a younger functional state relative to calendar age. This reversal did not come from medication changes. Since I stopped all medications in 2010, it came from sustained lifestyle control. While longitudinal data matters, most medical research relies on snapshots. Measurements are taken at a few time points, then averaged across groups. This approach hides dynamics. Chronic diseases do not develop in months, they develop over years or decades. My dataset is more like a movie than a still snapshot. It captures continuous change. It shows how small daily decisions accumulate into large physiological outcomes. It also shows delays. Improvements in glucose and weight do not appear immediately after behavior changes. They emerge after sufficient cumulative effort. This time dimension is essential. Without it, cause and effect remain unclear. Viscoplastic energy analysis and turning points. Using the VMT energy framework, age difference was treated as the output strain, while BMI, fasting glucose, food intake, and walking steps served as for input stressors. The cumulative energy curve reveals a clear turning point. Between 2013 and 2016, cumulative energy rose sharply. By 2015, about 78% of total lifetime metabolic stress had already been accumulated. By 2016, this reached over 90%. After that, the curve flattened. This means that most long-term damage had already occurred early, before full metabolic recovery was achieved. This finding carries an important message. Lifestyle changes can reverse trends and stabilize health, but they cannot erase past damage. The earlier intervention begins, the more damage can be avoided. Relative contributions of lifestyle factors. Energy contribution analysis shows the relative importance of each factor. Glucose control contributed the largest share at 35%, followed by BMI at 27%, food portion at 24%, and walking steps at 14%. This does not mean exercise isn't important. It means exercise works mainly by supporting weight and glucose control, not by itself. Food intake played a dominant role. Reducing portion size and improving diet quality directly lowered glucose and body weight. Walking amplified these effects, but could not replace dietary control. This aligns closely with the new U.S. Dietary Guidelines' emphasis on dietary structure rather than calorie counting alone. However, my longitudinal data analysis shows that guidelines only work when followed consistently for many years. The stroke and the 2026 data point. In 2026, fasting glucose rose from 87 mg DL to about 100 mg DL, despite continued dietary discipline. This increase occurred after a hemorrhagic stroke in mid-2025. Physical activity also dropped sharply due to recovery limitations. This illustrates another key lesson. Acute medical events can temporarily override good habits. Metabolic control is not static. It is influenced by stress, injury, and recovery. Longitudinal monitoring is essential to detect and understand these shifts. Conclusion: the U.S. 2025 to 2030 dietary guidelines represent a meaningful correction in direction. My 17-year longitudinal dataset provides independent confirmation that diet quality, portion control, and physical activity can control body weight and glucose over the long term. However, guidelines alone do not produce results. Persistence does. Human body responds slowly but honestly. It records every decision. This case demonstrates that chronic disease is not a mystery. It is a long process with clear inputs and clear outcomes. When viewed over time, the path becomes visible. I write this not to promote myself, but to show what is possible when lifestyle choices are treated seriously, measured carefully, and sustained patiently over many years. Disclaimer: I write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand their health, prevent disease, and live longer, healthier lives. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights belong to the author. Gerald C. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.